Brandon Crow watching from Hockey Canada. Writes in and he says, my wife and her two sisters all played NCAA Division I hockey. They attribute it to waiting around that chute as kids and using those prairie oysters as hockey puck. Shooting them for the dog. Here's
Bingo!
one. All the raw testicles that I collected one day, I put them in a margarine container. Remember the old Imperial margarine that had the purple crowns around it? I put them all in there, and I took them to a party. A bush party. You've been there, Moose. You weren't at that one, but you've been to them. And I was going to cook them. I was going to cook them and make people eat them and not tell them what they were till after. But it didn't matter because Philip Kenyon took one, popped it in his mouth, crunched it raw. And he was smiling, and the blood ran down just like this.
He knew what it was?
I will never forget. He knew what it was. Philip Kenyon.
That was Fear Factor before there was Fear Factor with Joe Rogan.
I know. Beer might have been involved. But the next time that we're driving to Montana, I'll show you exactly where it is, because a lot of stuff went down at that site. A lot of stuff. I'm not going to go any further, but just remind me later. I'll tell you about the bikers that were on their way back from Sturgis from the rally that stopped at our party.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
This is peak Florida. Yes, it is. It's just so mean. From the moment I set foot there, they're like, don't leave. And the only reason I am is because it's too damn hot. But it's just anything goes, man. No helmets on motorcycles. No law. There's no laws in Florida. Ponies mating, and it's just my kind of thing.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Oddly enough, that's true. It's true. But it's the greatest place I've been. Welcome, everybody, to the RP Show. If you're into numerology, episode number 1414 of Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show, coming your way on the Game Plus television network. And, of course, streaming. Moose remains away with a special project that he's doing. But you can read up on the latest with Moose at rodpeterson.com. His 10 Things column is the top thing running right now. So before we bring in today's co-host who will be with us for the first two segments, Rich Sutter is going to be with us in an hour or two from hockey's first family. And we're going to be playing some NHL breakaway bets. We've got a lot to get to, but the football, I'm going to tell you right now, is going to be pushed to later this hour and off the top of hour two. A lot of hockey as we bring in Kyle Manifold, good friend of mine. He is the manager. I'm not sure if the creator, he'll say this, whether it's true or not, of the Hockey Podcast Network. You see, he's a Flames fan, so don't hold that against him. Kyle, welcome to the RP Show, brother. How are you?
Doing awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, good. So you see, he can talk about the Flames, but he can actually talk about every team in the National Hockey League. And actually, before we jump into all that, in a minute or less, Kyle, just tell the folks about the Hockey Podcast Network, if you don't mind. It's impressive.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be brought on about 3 years ago. It's a project that Dylan Kaiser started about 5-6 years ago now, and yeah, it's awesome. We got about 80 to 90 shows on that ranges all across North America. A lot of them are fan ridden. It starts with Terry Ryan, who's been on from the very beginning, and yeah, it's been a two-man crew for the last little bits, and I've had the great fortune of working alongside with Dylan for these past couple of years, and yeah, we're really excited about the work that we're kind of doing going forward with it.
I've got it. Managing partner, the Hockey Podcast Network, Kyle Manifold with us. So let's ready to rock. Guys, can you hit the quick six show horn, please? And we'll fire it up. Okay, so we're going to open with NHL leftovers, and then we got some juicy gossip to get to, too. But some of the 13 games last night, and I'm going to tell you all that Jersey Jim and I tied last night, 7 correct picks. Of the 13 games, we each had 7 right. Last night, Kyle Connor scored a natural hat trick in the first period to spark the Winnipeg Jets to a 6-1 victory over the Vancouver Canucks. The left winger's sixth career hattie came in a span of 6:38, making it the third fastest in Jets Thrashers franchise history. Meanwhile, in Toronto, Logan Stankoven had 2 goals and a helper. Maverick Bourque and Matt Duchene scored power play goals, and the visiting Dallas Stars knocked off the Leafs 4-1. Leafs have now lost 3 in a row, despite Austin Matthews scoring his 15th of the season. And another one, I'm only going to mention one more. William Eklund had a goal and a helper as the visiting San Jose Sharks snapped the Detroit Red Wings 7-game NHL win streak with a 6-3 victory at Little Caesars Arena. Vladimir Tarasenko scored twice for the Wings, who are now 7-2 under Todd McClellan. Those are some of the games that jumped out to me last night in terms of leftovers. How about you, Kyle?
Well, I mean, we got to mention the one game last night, of course, too.
Go ahead. That's why you're here.
Oh, no, it wasn't anything special. Trust me. I mean, you had a 2-1 result in St. Louis, and Kevin Ball, out of all the players who scored last night for the Calgary Flames, you know, out of the lot of scoring depth with that Flames team going on right now. So, but yeah, I mean, the other game that kind of jumped out to me still was Toronto. A lot of hate that was going on last night. Being from the area, you know, you lose 3 straight, and all of a sudden, you know, people are starting to question it now and where this team kind of finishes up at the end of the year. And, you know, a lot of questions are being circled around the team now.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Again.
You said it. Yeah, well, you went there. Kyle's in Ontario. He's in this new part of the new media, in that you can host a show about a team in one place but live in another. Kyle does that and does it very well. The reason I brought up the Leafs thing, and shoot, we are anchored in Toronto, Game Plus Television. Actually, Moose is down there at their studio today in downtown Toronto. Darren, in his column at rodpedersen.com, said, he goes, hey, welcome to the Leafs 3-game losing streak. Carr meet Cliff. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how Leafs fans do it. I can't. It nauseates me in terms of like a roller coaster. Like New York's roller coaster, man. I can't handle it. So the poll question today.
Yeah.
Wait, one sec, Kyle. The poll question for EMJ Marketing, which, by the way, they'll provide the perfect keynote speaker for your event, EMJ Marketing. Look at them up at emjmarketing.com. Look up Joe. Guys, you throwing up the graphic, or what are we doing here? Thanks. What is this Leafs season going to end in? We've given you 2 options: a Stanley Cup title or going off the cliff. And I don't know what the definition of somewhere in between is, but we just picked 2. Because that's what it is with the Leafs fans. We're either winning the cup or we're going off the cliff. So I voted for going off the cliff. History would indicate that's what's going to happen. 100% of respondents saying this season's going off the cliff. So, yeah, what the hell? What are you voting, Kyle?
Yeah, I got to say the cliff, too, unfortunately. Big family that I have here in Ontario, and they're all Leaf fans. And anytime Calgary plays them and they lose, you know, I get 50,000 text messages left, right, and center, and phone calls, and it's a fantastic time every single year. It's funny because, you know, they're leading the Atlantic right now, and you know, the big hurdle for me, if you're looking at it from a whole here in the Eastern Conference, I still think the Panthers are that team to get over the hump, right? People forget, you know, even that they won the cup last year and then they were in the final the year before that, right? So that's still, to me, when you look at standards and when you look at, you know, okay, you have a bunch of these games, regular season, blah, blah, blah. You get to the playoffs, that's the moneymakers, right? You can do all these different things, and, you know, Leafs fans know about it with the Matthews record and all that. But, you know, the Panthers, for me, are still going to be the team that the Leafs have to find a way to get over, right? And that's going to be a team that I think has been talked about before, where they're just going to grind you down and they're going to beat you down left, right, and center. And that's just kind of what I see them doing to Toronto if they happen to meet there. So, you know, for them, they're doing great, doing all this great regular season stuff. And, you know, we've talked about before for the last 8, 9, 10 years, however long it's been now to this point. And they still can't find a way to do it. And you said it, like, history repeats. And, you know, I still find it very hard to believe that that team that they've assembled over there is going to be good enough to beat Florida in the playoffs.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Wonderful job, by the way. Thank you for proving me a genius again for bringing you on. This is going great. Rich in Edmonton writes in. He says that jersey's missing the dumpster under the sea. You know the Edmonton people are going to chime in with what they have to say. Tony in Cochrane says, go Flames. I'm starting to believe in a playoff series. Canucks are falling off the cliff. I'm just sprinkling in a few comments here as we go. The football fans have showed up, and folks, I'm going to tell you what, later on this hour, we'll get to that and the top of hour 2, but we're talking hockey here with Kyle. And let me tell you something. I appreciate you logging in early so we could have a little chat before the show. Here's something about the Panthers. And I want to get your take on Paul Maurice, too, because they snapped the 2-game losing streak with a win last night in New Jersey, 2-1. And as I was walking through the parking lot here into our building today, some lady saw me and she's like, how about them Cats? I'm like, oh, my God, wearing me out. But what Paul Maurice said after their 2 losses, because we didn't even need to wear equipment in our last 2 games. And if you know the game. I know that he means that they were no hitters. They weren't playing physical enough. And I guess my question to you is, Kyle, how do you think Paul Maurice manages this season trying to get back to the Stanley Cup for a 3rd straight time when you know you're good enough to be there? How do you keep him interested in the dog days of January? Because it's hard to play that physical style for 82 games, and they're not.
It's hard because you want to keep your guys healthy when playoffs begin mid-April, right? You want to keep them interested. And, especially, with them, you just mentioned that they lost their last 2 games. It's still a fairly competitive Eastern Conference, right? And, you can have a nice little 10-game stretch where you go 2-8 for whatever reason, and you kind of just, like you mentioned, like fall off a little bit. And maybe that gets you interested all of a sudden because nothing is secured yet, right? Nothing's ever secured until you see that X right beside the team name in the standings. So, you want to keep them interested until that point. And then once that becomes, real, that you're going to make the playoffs again this year is the direction they're going to go, that's when I expect the physicality of this team to come back into play, right? They just grinded out, another, they go to win the Cup final last year. This is the 2nd year where they get there, right? So it's been a long road for these guys the last 2 years. So you want to make sure that you want to stay healthy for that time of year, but also be a bit of a reminder like, hey guys, nothing's secure until we actually get there. So it's a bit tough, but I think that's got to be the message that Paul's got to tell these guys and say, hey, nothing's locked down yet. We have to treat every night like we're fighting for our lives here because you are seeing a lot of different teams in the East start coming up.
We've got viewers that have written in with questions for Kyle Manifold. That didn't take long. I'm telling you, Kyle, you have a presence. You're doing a great job. But I'm not ready yet to turn it over to the audience. So just chill, everybody. Write in all your questions you want, but I'm not done here. Now here's the juicy part I was talking about. We roll into point 2. The Tampa Bay Lightning were missing an important part of their offense as they took on the Boston Bruins Monday night, or was it Tuesday night? It wasn't because of injury or a trade. It was because of a missed meeting. Braden Point was a healthy scratch during the 6-2 loss after he missed a meeting prior to the morning skate on Tuesday. It's not the first time Point has been held out of a game for missing a meeting. Back in February of 2019, he missed a game against the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, there's a few things I want to get to here. The reason I'm as interested in this is I live in Florida, Point's from Calgary, and he played for the Moose Jaw Warriors. There's a lot of people interested in this story, okay? And I think more than anything, did you see, Kyle? You must have. You run the Hockey Podcast Network. The team tweeted it. The team. I'm sitting there going, why are you doing this? Why are you publicly shaming a veteran warrior of your team? That didn't sit well with me. And I guess before I get your your thoughts on this, here's what John Cooper said after the game. Quote, we've had a standard since I've been here, 12 years, whatever it's been. This is professional sports, and we've got rules. Nobody's above the law. It's unfortunate because this is a game where we really needed him. The one that probably really feels the worst about it is Pointer because he's such a great guy and a great team guy. Well, what's he doing missing meetings then? Get him a new watch. That was my biggest leftover coming out of last night. How about you?
It's tough because, he's an all-star, right? And he's got his whole resume, and you've seen it, especially when they had their stretch of cup runs. But John Cooper is still coaching this team for a reason, right? Out of all these years, right? And the standard is the standard. And you're right. Like, I don't like the social media team publicly shaming him for it, if that's the one way we want to look at it. But again, like, rules are rules. You have to abide by them. We don't know what happens, of course, behind the in the locker room, and maybe certain things came up or whatever it is. There's really no excuse for this type of stuff, right? But you have to follow it for even some of these younger guys who are new into the league and they miss team meetings. Well, all of a sudden, you're going to miss a game. So, the same thing's going to be said for Kucherov, or if Vasilevsky's supposed to start that night. If he misses one, well, guess what? We're throwing in the backup tonight, and that's the standard I think that he's set, and a reason why this team has not only made the playoffs for the last few years, but have gone on to win multiple Stanley Cups. He still keeps that same level of composure. That standard is still really high for this team. And it's also why they're now all of a sudden top 3 in the Atlantic. Didn't help with the Boston game last night or whenever it was, but you got to follow the rules, man.
It's gonna happen again. And I want to ask our audience, because just so you know, Colin, you know that we're on television. We own the 55 plus age demographic across Canada. We do. That's who's home during the day.
Amazing.
So this is old school discipline. And I sit here every day and rail on old school, and I'm in favor of it. But I'm kind of going, why did you need to make this public? Couldn't you just sit him out? I don't really like that. But again, John Cooper's John Cooper, bro. I'm not gonna question John Cooper either. That's the one thing. I guess we'll see how Braden Point reacts.
Yeah, I mean, again, it sucks that you have to shame him that way, but at the same time, the media is going to want answers too at the same time, right? They're going to come out after the game, and if nothing was ever said, Cooper, I wonder, like, maybe I'll throw this to you, like, after the game, if they didn't mention it on social media and they go up to John Cooper and say, where was Braden Point tonight? Do you think he's going to be the type of guy that'll just straight up tell you, yeah, he missed a team meeting and he's not playing tonight?
Well, listen, now we're getting into this isn't splitting hairs. This isn't semantics, but you're talking about deep lightning stuff here, because I was in the room when the playoffs ended last year, when they lost in the 5th game in Florida, and everybody said to John Cooper, do you expect Steven Stamkos will be back? You don't remember the quote, but I do. I was there. He goes, Steven Stamkos belongs here, and never played another game. So do you know what I'm saying? Is this another example of a team springing a leak? This doesn't seem like a John Cooper thing to do, yet he was the guy standing there explaining why they did it. So there's something off with the Lightning. There is, which, by the way, a couple things before we break. Bomber Boy writes in and he says, Toronto is the worst division leader in the NHL. Parcells said it. Your record is what you are. We're sitting here, Leafs fans, talking about the season going off the cliff, and they're in first place.
Yeah.
Welcome to Leafs Nation.
Literally.
Cardinal Ryan checks in from Saratoga, New York. Cardinal Ryan says, good day, Rod Squad. Hey, Ryan, can you tell me who won the game between the Panthers and your Devils last night? I can't remember. Would you let me? I can't. When we come back, we'll get to some of these viewer questions, okay? Rich Sutter coming up in hour 2. Kyle Manifold is with us from the Hockey Podcast Network, and we'll be back in a moment here on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
All right, the RP Show continues, and just digging into the text line 902-518-3033. Ken is watching in Port Hope, Ontario. Ken Scriber. He writes in, he says, Rod, last night's game was pretty special. A Rick Rippon night. How sweet is that? I was honored and privileged to watch his minor hockey in Regina. Love the show. P.S. How do you get around with all those scooters in the way? Ha ha ha. Here in Florida, we're good. Let's bring in Kyle Manifold. So I apologize. Was it, hey, you Winnipegers, was that, if it was Rick Rippon night last night, then I missed it, but I get it. Those were his two teams, the Jets and the Vancouver Canucks, and Rick was our captain. Was it? Did you see that, Kyle, anywhere on social media? Was Rick Rippon night?
I didn't see it. Yeah, no, I didn't see it.
I didn't
must have missed it, but yeah.
I didn't see it either, but Rick Rippon was our captain. I broadcast every single one of his junior games, but I don't think he played minor hockey in Regina, but I get your point. Maybe that's what you meant, Ken, in Port Hope, Ontario. I'm not sure. Okay, Rich in Edmonton writes in. He's an Oilers fan, Kyle, but he's a good guy. Not that people from Edmonton aren't good people. That's not what I meant. He says, a serious question for Kyle, who, by the way, Kyle Manifold is with us from the Hockey Podcast Network. He said, is being good enough to just miss the playoffs what the Flames really want? Wouldn't a prime draft spot be better for the R word rebuild? How do you look at that?
So this is something that's been talked about all year, and it goes a little deeper. I won't go on a tangent here, but basically it goes back to when Sean Monahan and Tkachuk got traded, and then you had all of these draft implications come into play, right? And essentially the way it is right now is the Flames have 3 first-round draft picks. They have their own, they have Florida's from the Chuck trade, and they also have the Devils from Markstrom. If they were to finish in the bottom 10 this year, they get to keep their pick, right? Originally, when Monahan got traded over to Montreal, they also acquired our first-round pick on top of it. If we stay in the bottom 10 this year, Montreal would automatically take the first-round pick next year, right? If we finish outside of that bottom 10, which we are right now, Montreal would take the better of Calgary's or Florida's pick, depending on who finishes lower in the standings. So I say to that, it's great because they're overachieving this year. They're getting a lot of contributions for some of the younger guys this year, and it's been really exciting to see, especially from Rory Kearns, who made a season debut in Chicago on Monday night. He's a player I'm excited to kind of watch. So it's nice that we're seeing it. And also, too, from the rumblings from what I hear, whether this is true or not, it's not necessarily the highest of draft classes this year. If you're going to lose a draft pick, you might as well just get rid of it this year because it becomes unprotected next year, and you don't want Montreal to have it in case this team all of a sudden tanks and they finish dead last and then Montreal gets the picks. So again, it goes really deeper for that, and the whole trade implications went crazy with it at the time with the Monahan Tkachuk deal. I'm not even bothered really getting into it, but in a nutshell, that's what it looks like. So to answer his question, it's okay to overachieve right now, especially in a year where this team was supposed to finish, from a lot of the media members saying that they were supposed to finish in the bottom 5. To be at this level and in a playoff spot, it's kind of nice.
Guy, I love Calgary. Calgary knows that. I went to college there, spent parts of a couple of years there, almost moved there 3 times permanently. I love Calgary, but I did pick them to be last place this year. What they're doing is defying the odds. But, I mean, look, I'll say this to a few people, a few people will get it, would be interested in it. Read Doug McLean's book, Draft Day. It is a forensic look at what you just talked about, going back to the start of the draft in, I think, 1963. There are times where I'm reading it going, Uncle, it's forensic. But if you're into that kind of thing, you'll love it. How sucky that is for the Flames that you would have 3 picks in the first round of a year that the talent pool isn't great. But it is what it is. But let me say, are the Flames in a rebuild? I think they're in a rebuild, but you don't have a cadre and older guys. I mean, Huberdeau came in the Tkachuk deal, and they weren't thinking of rebuilding at that time. Stick with me, Kyle. When they made that trade. But look at Montreal. They were just through here. The oldest guy on the roster, I looked it up, is the defenseman, Savard. They went really, 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 and he's 34. They went really, really, really young with Montreal, and they're coming out of it. The Flames have gone really, really, really young, except for a few guys. And I don't know if you can have that except and have it be successful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough because Brad Treliving kind of put us in this position in the first place with the Kadri and Huberdeau deals, and he signed Weegar long term too, which was a great signing. But the problem is it's tough to move a contract like Huberdeau if that's something that they were thinking of doing, in this kind of timeline that they have. And Kadri's name's been thrown out there too, and he says he wants to stay and all that stuff. But from what we understand is there is a 2 to 3 year plan that Conroy has implemented and saying we need this time to, rebuild, quote unquote, even though they're overachieving this year, draft some younger players, get some younger Sunmans. I just read a thing that they're in talks right now about Dylan Cousins, whether that's true or not. There is a plan. And to do that, it's going to be interesting with them at the deadline because they're kind of in the mix still, but at the same time, they don't want to lose too many assets coming into this kind of 2 to 3 year plan that Craig Conroy has put into place. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Dude, okay. I hope you're enjoying this chat as much as I am, and I hope that the viewers are as well. We'll be talking football later. Thank you, Clark, for putting in the chat. It was Rick Rippin tribute for #Hockey Talks Night. That's awesome. I was somehow unaware. I didn't see anything coming out of the Winnipeg Jets nor Canucks that was a thing. Bomber Boy continues, which don't get confused, Kyle. He is Bomber Boy, lives in Calgary. He says, I still think the Flames should be sellers this year, no matter where they are at the trade deadline. Well, maybe you don't need to be sellers, but you sure just, heck, shouldn't be adding anything. And it's funny when everybody wants to light Brad Tree living on fire. He put us in this mess. Not that you're saying it, but you hear it a lot. He didn't think he was going to be fired, okay, when he made those deals, depending on how much you know of what went on in there. Nobody ever thinks that. And it's funny. You don't hear his name a lot in Toronto, or at least I don't. Okay, you're living there in Ontario, so I'm not going to hear anything.
Oh, we hear it.
Oh, do you? Okay, well, look at the Penguins. Was it Sydney came out last night and said this is unacceptable where the Penguins are? Could we just say, where's Kyle Dubas in all of this? Why does this guy escape the furor that a lot of other GMs have to go through? It's like Kyle Dubas remains the wonder kind, and I kind of wonder what the hell he's ever done to earn that tag.
And he's going to continue doing it at the deadline, more than likely. He's going to be a big buyer because he wants to squeeze every little ounce out of this Crosby, Malkin, and Letang trio here for whenever their careers end, right? He wants to squeeze this out because, it's, now that I'm saying it, it's kind of in a similar situation to Calgary, if you think about it, where you have, Huberdeau who's locked in long-term and all this stuff, and guys will get older here and there, but it's like you want to mix in, kind of like you mentioned with Montreal, what they're doing and bringing in a lot of younger guys, where Pittsburgh has that nice, okay, you got some of these guys coming at the end of their career, younger guys trying to come in, don't know what their pool looks like. But Dubas is probably going to do the same thing again at the deadline and just buy until they can't hold on to Crosby and them any longer.
Right, and then the train goes off the track, and he'll be fired, so he won't have to be there to deal with the mess. You know what I mean? Like, as we sit here right now, because again, I'm not watching TSN at all. It's not available to me. And NHL Network does not cover the NHL the way TSN does. Nowhere near as well. So I don't see the coverage of who's available. Although, Sam Bennett's name I hear a lot with the Panthers because he has an expiring contract. But who do you think will be moved at the deadline?
I mean, the two biggest names, they brought out their trade bait board on TSN recently, and the two biggest names that are out there right now are 1 and 2, and it's Elias Pedersen and JT Miller. And that whole situation is just so fascinating, isn't it?
Unless you're a Canucks fan. Yeah.
Well, exactly, right? Outside of those two, the biggest names, it's hard because you're still trying to gauge, like, who's, within the East especially too, because there's so many teams still in the mix, right? And all of a sudden it's like, hey, who's true buyers, who's going to risk it all and try to get in this year, and or who's saying, you know what, we're still not ready yet and we got to sell here at the deadline. So yeah, like I've heard Sam Bennett's name before, but I think the one name I would maybe look at, I think the Rangers are really desperate this year because of how their season's gone. And I think they've been poking around. They already actually made an offer for JT Miller that included Mika Zibanejad not too long ago. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Rangers continue to poke at a guy like JT Miller and try to make something there, because they're trying to make it work. And a lot of fans there are not so happy about the way the year's gone.
Well, yeah, I mean, they got bombed last night in Winnipeg 6-1. And let me say this. I don't know if you saw this. You probably didn't. It's not a real well-publicized thing. But the Western Canadian Pro Scouting Foundation announced their Hall of Fame class for this year, and my dad's going in. Second class ever. 29 scouts are going to be honored. My dad is going in posthumously. He's not with us anymore. But those old hockey guys, they know. And I'm so blessed that they were my friends. Well, they were my dad's best friends, but I got to be around them. And some of them I still talk to. And one old hockey guy in Alberta said to me, here's the thing. The media guys can sit, you and me, and talk. It's just talk. What do we know? Those hockey guys know. And one of them in Alberta said, the Canucks peaked. They peaked last year. And I'm not going to hint at all who this guy is. But I'm like, if that is the case, that's pretty damn scary, is my thinking on what you've just said. Like, if JT Miller and Elias Pedersen are the top two guys on the board and they didn't do anything in Vancouver, why the hell would you want them on your team? I guess is my long way of, that's not the best pool of guys available at the trade deadline. I see what you're saying, but would you take them?
I would probably look at Miller. I think the Pedersen contract's going to be difficult to move because I think he's making close to $10 million, if I'm not mistaken. Miller's a guy I think you want on your team come playoff time. He's a gritty guy, and he's a good guy who battles along the boards. But, I would probably look at Miller. With Pedersen, they've talked about him before where the production just isn't there. And I think Rick Tocchet's come out a couple of times and has kind of called him out saying, this guy isn't necessarily a guy you want to go to war with in terms of battling along the boards and getting in deep, and maybe one of the reasons why he didn't really show up in the playoffs last year too. So, and maybe the guy is right. Like, this is the peak that we saw for Vancouver, and I kind of thought they were frauds last year, considering they made it to the second round. So, you take, and the last thing I'll say is this: if you take Quinn Hughes out of that lineup, it's a completely different team. He is clearly the quarterback for this team and the catalyst, right? And he drives the power play. He drives the offense mainly. And if you take him out, it's been showcased that their record isn't fantastic without him in the lineup. So he's the most important person for the Canucks if they want to get into the playoffs. And he's been hurt recently. We'll see if he can get more healthy as the season goes on.
Bomber boy. He's had a lot of smart things to say today. He says, incredible that the Canucks won the Pacific Division last season. Kyle just said he thought they were frauds last year. And Rich in Edmonton says, absolutely love what Montreal has done with their drafting. Oh, but you better, oh yeah. Homegrown goalies, homegrown blue line, largely homegrown up front. I mean, Suzuki they got from Vegas. But if Vegas sees some value in you, there's got to be some value in you where Suzuki came from. You know what I'm saying? Like Montreal has done it right. No fiddle farting around. And that's what some teams are still doing. And I hope Calgary does not get fooled into thinking they're all that, because they're not. Sorry, Kyle. I know that you're your team. Stick to the plan. Rich in Edmonton says, great analysis. Quinn Hughes should be in the Hart conversation. Canucks without him would be sketchy. Well, Kyle, we've reached the end of our time. Can you please tell our folks where they can follow your stuff and what you do, if you don't mind? Let's bump that up.
Yeah, it's all at HockeyPodNet. Go follow us on X. We do a lot of live shows on YouTube as well too. A lot of live games where we just kind of chit chat and have our nice community in there as well. So you want to go follow us on all our socials. It's all at HockeyPodNet. And if you're looking out there to kind of start a show as well too, and you want to be a part of an awesome community that we kind of have started recently, you can always reach out to us too, and we're always looking for more people to join.
Well, thanks for welcoming me into the fold with our little Cats and Bolts podcast. And you offered over a year ago to come on. So I'm like, hey, yeah, we're looking for a guy. Before we break, we only have 2 NHL games tonight. So real quickly, we do our breakaway bets every day. I tied with Jersey Jim Behringer yesterday. Today, there's only 2 games. So Carolina, Buffalo tonight. Who you got winning, Kyle?
Got to go Carolina. Got it. It's Buffalo, man.
Yeah. And Edmonton at Minnesota. Ooh, that's a gooder.
I like Minnesota at home.
Perfect, because I'm taking the Oilers. We can't agree on everything.
Love
that's
it.
Good. All right,
Love
Kyle,
it.
Thanks for this. Let's do it again.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rod. Appreciate it.
Kyle Manifold, managing partner of the Hockey Podcast Network. We'll be right back with a sports update and viewer takeover the rest of the way here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcast wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms. where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Okay, the RP show continues. We're going to get real, but we're going to continue to have fun. I will tell you that Hour 1 is brought to you by Culligan. Drink clean, live green, filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit CulliganRegina.com. Proud sponsors of our 10 WHL Things column, which is running at RodPeterson.com right now. Few things here. Rich in Edmonton writes, and he says, blazing start to the show, Rod. Great stuff between you and Kyle. I've never, ever been on the air with him before. How about that? Although we have emailed back and forth, and I just got a sense that this guy'd be good. And he was good. And thank you, Rich, for noticing and commenting. Ryan in upstate New York says the Eastern Conference wild card is going to be a cannonball run for the rest of the season, and I'm here for it. Oh, boy. You got that right. And it's interesting where the Tampa Bay Lightning fall into this. Later on today, I'm going to be doing my Cats and Bolts podcast, hence the shirt. Not that anybody cares about what's going on in my life, but it is the Rod Pedersen Show. And just walking through the parking lot into the office building where I do this show today, this lady out of the blue, go Cats! Great game last night. They're noticing, they're paying attention, but that's Florida. They're going to be fine. The Lightning, we're going to have some fun with this. They're tied with Boston for third as it sits today. And I'm scintillated with this story that they would announce on Twitter that Braden Point was a healthy scratch last night for missing a team meeting. And I was talking to Moose this morning. He was on the train in Toronto going into downtown, and he goes, there's no talk on TSN about it. And I'm like, of course not. It's not the Leafs. Let's talk about that grease fire forever. But Braden Point played in Moose Jaw. He's from Calgary, and he's a Lightning warrior. Lightning, veteran soldier. And I'm like, wow, why are they shaming him like that publicly? There's just something weird going on there with the Lightning. I guess my point is they're in a playoff spot today, but just like hanging on by their fingernails. And the Leafs are in first place, and everybody wants to jump off buildings. Yeah. BW from Edmonton writes in, he says, from Sportsnet, the Pittsburgh Penguins have made a shocking decision between the pipes. Goaltender Tristan Jarry will be placed on waivers. Didn't they send him down to the minors earlier this year? Penguins got to do something. And Jarry he has not given them NHL caliber goaltending. And this drove me nuts the other night, by the way. I was at the game here, Panthers and Penguins. I caught a puck in the warm-up. As a matter of fact, I didn't catch it. It rattled around between my feet. Picked it up. I gave it away to Brent from Wellington, Florida's kid, RJ. But anyways, that night I bought a ticket because I went with a friend and I wanted to sit in the crowd. I wanted to feel it was 90s night, and I'm here for anything 90s, although I like the 80s more, but 90s were pretty good too. And I'm like, that's why I don't like to sit in the crowd. The stupid things people were saying. There were Penguins fans, a few people down from me, and they're like, stay in your effing net, Jerry. It's Jarry, and I'm pretty sure you have no idea how to play the position, so how about a glass of shut the hell up? But I guess you can't say that. So I'll just stick to the press box. Stay in your effing net, Jerry. It's Jarry. Jerk water. Jack wagon.
How about that?
Hey, by the way, do you have a winter birthday in your house? And is that birthday boy or girl obsessed with hockey like the rest of us? Then look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary to throw the best birthday parties in Cowtown and area. With state-of-the-art equipment, spacious shooting lanes, and games for all ages, plus a licensed bar for the adults. Overtime Hockey Lanes is the perfect destination to build teams, whether they're from the Calgary area or if you're on a road trip from out of town. Book your lanes today, 28th Street, Northeast Calgary. I'll probably get to a sports update next segment. We're just having too much fun here right now with what we're doing. Couple things. Shy writes in from Saskatchewan. Shy, you want to let me know where you are exactly in the rectangle, if you don't mind? Shy writes in, apologize for his behavior yesterday. Apology accepted, Shy. Thank you for saying that. He says, question, what's your take on the Elks not paying Eugene Lewis his asking price? This is the MVP of the CFL from a few years ago. Edmonton won't pay him what they were paying him. Here's my take, bud. Ed Hervey up there, the new general manager, didn't sign him. The head coach, Mark Killam, didn't sign him. He's not their guy. Things change, specifically in the CFL. This year, yesterday marked 6 years since I was fired as the voice of the Rough Riders. But you know what? Although it took a while to get over because I'd done it my whole adult life. Looking back, I realized, well, you know what? The guys that hired me, Alan Ford with the Rough Riders, John Hushy at the radio station, they're long gone. These guys running the station now and the team now, they don't like me. We don't see eye to eye. It's a similar thing. If the people that brought you in are gone and the people that are running the show now don't want you, don't take it personally. Time to go. That's how I look at that. By the way, I had a friend send me a note this morning. I'm just going to put it here now. I actually had it in my quick six show topics, but I wasn't going to bring it up with Kyle Manifold as we talked hockey. Kahari Jones has joined the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds as quarterbacks coach. So Kahari, who I don't think money is a real issue for Kahari, Canadian Football Hall of Famer, I think. I don't know, but as you know, I don't pay as much attention to these anymore since they've become now political appointments, not on merit, but he should be in there. Wants to coach quarterbacks at UBC. Kahari Jones, that'll take him out of the running to be the Blue Bombers offensive coordinator because I heard he was in the running. And Jarius Jackson as well is the guy, I'm told, the leading candidate now to take over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. My mind's racing a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Two things. One, you know that gal, Michelle, if you watch the show every day, I met her Tuesday down in South Beach, Florida. A business meeting. She'd come all the way from L.A. for some business meetings, and I was one. She's now back in L.A., and I've been texting with her, and she didn't lose her home, but she can't stay in her home. The building was affected. Is that fair? Her term is displaced. She's basically saying anything you can do to help is appreciated. That's one thing from Michelle. Imagine not being able to get into your home. How tough that would be to ask for the help. It would be very tough for her. Dealing with that, Jeremy writes in from Deer Valley, Sask, and he says, I'm sure you heard the news of the passing of Moose Jaw Warriors enforcer great Rob Trummer Trumbley. His hockey stories were priceless, and this world lost a genuine, big-hearted human. Mental illness and addiction is a horrible disease. So those are the two things. I know that Rob Trumbley, he was a feared fighter in the Western League. I know his family incredibly well. They're hurting so much as he was claimed by, as Jeremy says, mental illness and addiction. And then Michelle losing her home, or at the very least not being able to be in it and asking for help. And we're worried about who won or lost. That's all. That's my perspective on things and how it changes it. Is there's some people dealing with some really serious crap out there right now. So just keep that in mind as you fight over a parking spot or a shopping cart, or who's going to be the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be back with a sports update right after this, live on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Welcome back, broadcasting from beautiful Highland Beach, Florida, where it's another beautiful day. Doesn't that just scream hockey? Listen, I want to get to the sports update, but I've got so many scintillating comments from the viewers that I just want to keep going back and forth with you. Rich Sutter coming up in hour 2 for a lot of the hockey-related talk. Corey writes in, he says, "Dear Winnipeg Jets, sorry I didn't show up last night. Signed, JT Miller." I'm sure the Jets were happy he didn't show up. He should be apologizing to his Vancouver Canucks teammates. I need some audience participation here, maybe a vote. Tony in George Fox country. It's Cochrane, Alberta. He writes in, he says, "That is one smart-looking shirt, Rod." I appreciate you saying that because I didn't know where we fell on that. I feel like it is very cool. I'm going to be taping the Cats and Bolts podcast later today, but I also feel it looks a little like a strip club manager's shirt. Come on. Doesn't it?
How about that?
Or a Greek restaurant owner.
Hell
which
yes.
in neither case is there anything wrong with any of that. Clark, what do you think? Podcast host, like sports talk, strip club owner, or Greek restaurant owner? Or all three? It's all of them. It's all of them. I would expect in the next landman, the manager of the strip club's wearing a shirt that looks just like this. Maybe we should send him one. And by the way, none of that is an insult either. Very close to the Greek community. Spent a lot of money in the nightclub industry. Oh, Jeff in the zone, dude. Have you been watching all show? He just writes in now. He says, who will the Vancouver Canucks trade, JT Miller or Elias Pedersen? We were talking about it earlier. They're the top guys on the board available. Rich Sutter's going to be with us next hour, and let's put it to him. Canucks alum, too, by the way. Richie will have some takes. I don't have time to get to the dang sports update because you guys have been so entertaining here today. I appreciate you for that. And by the way, just one more on the mental health. Rick Rippon Knight last night broadcast his games, captain of the Regina Pats, played for the Jets and the Canucks, took his life, battled mental illness, and I know the guy who found him after he took his life. He was on this show recently. You think that doesn't affect somebody? So I will say this, nobody takes mental health seriously until it's too late. That's just a fact. So interesting that Rick Rippon would bring that up, and a lot of people dealing with a lot of crap. Okay, John Bomber Boy, everybody else, just sit through this brief pause. We get a rambunctious hour 2 coming up after this brief pause right here on Game Plus.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Good morning, Rod Squad.
Maybe tomorrow I'll tell you guys about the big game that I went to in San Antonio with Snoop Dogg. Remember that one, Clark? The Lakers and Spurs? Snoop Dogg and I went, Bob.
How about that?
Snoop Dogg was sitting courtside. I was up in the nosebleeds, but we were in the arena at the same time. I was there with him.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah. Hope you're ready to have some fun here in hour 2. I can see from the lively popping off audience in the chat that that's the case. We're live streaming on Facebook and YouTube, and of course on television, Game Plus. It's another day that Moose is not with us. He's undergoing some exciting things in his life, but not available for this show. Incidentally, he was in Game Plus this morning. Hey, you guys that are opting this show in Toronto on Game Plus Television Control Room, Anthem Sports, can you text me? Was Moose actually there? 902-518-3033. Now, he said he was going, and I talked to him on the train into downtown, but I never actually saw any evidence that he was at Game Plus this morning. So, hey, not to check up on anybody, but to check up on somebody. That's what I'm doing. Rich Sutter's coming up in the next segment, so there's going to be a lot of NHL talk today. Kyle Manifold was awesome in hour 1. And before we get ready for the Quick Six show horn. I'm just going to read a text message here. Bill is watching on TV in Toronto, and he writes in on the 902 line, "Hey, Hot Rod, it's Pinball's birthday today. Please tell him it would be a wonderful day to sign the number 48, Wynton McManus." Why do you think I have a direct line to Pinball? Because I don't. Even though we were hanging out together at the Coupe de Grey last year. Happy birthday, Pinball. We love you. But I did read an article. It's actually, I posted it to rodpeterson.com right now in the CFL notebook. They're trying to get Nick Arbuckle signed. It's an interesting story, isn't it? The guy leads them to the Grey Cup. and a championship, the Toronto Argonauts. But now he's coming back as the number 2 at best. If he signs at all, Chad Kelly is still the guy. Please discuss amongst yourself. Now, can you hit the quick 6 show horn, please, guys? I'm just going to re-up what we've been talking about today. This is going to go fast, so sit down or hold on to your toupee or whatever you got to do. NHL leftovers from last night. The Leafs lost 4-1 to the Dallas Stars. Moose is a big Leafs fan. Our regular co-host, producer Clark's a big Leafs fan. And predictable panic in Leaf land because they've lost 3 in a row now. Yeah, I know. You're all taking it very seriously. It's our poll question today because Moose put it in his column that's at rodpeterson.com right now. He's like, the Leafs have lost 3 in a row. Carr, meet Cliff. That's the poll. How's this Leaf season going to end? Win a Stanley Cup or go off a cliff? That is Leaf Nation in a nutshell right there. There's nothing in between, which on one hand I admire. If we don't win a Stanley Cup, it was a disaster. You've been saying it since 1967. I don't need to give you the year. But can I say on this January 15th, 2025, this is the most resounding vote result we've ever had in a poll. 97% on Twitter saying it's going to go off the cliff. So get ready, Thelma, Louise. 97% saying the Leafs are going off the cliff. How about that?
How about that?
There were 13 games in the NHL last night, and a couple of things. Spoiler alert. Once I'm done this show, Ted, here in 56 minutes, I'll be finishing up my column weekly for the South Florida Tribune and then going and hosting the Cats and Bolts podcast. So a couple of things that have happened here that you're not all paying attention to because you're all in a ninny, willy-nilly about the Leafs. Here, Braden Point didn't play last night for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and people are saying, well, who cares? Well, I do, and it's my show. He's from Calgary, played for the Moose Jaw Warriors. He's beloved in Western Canada, and I think he's beloved in Tampa Bay. But Braden Point was a healthy scratch for the Lightning last night, and they felt the need to put on Twitter that they're scratching him because he missed a meeting. And I'm sitting there going, whoa, why do you got to make it public? It's their team. They can do whatever they want, but why would you not handle it internally? John Cooper went almost to the top. The head coach, John Cooper, came out after the game last night, which the Lightning lost, by the way, 6-2 to Boston. And he goes, hey, we're professional sports. We have rules. Nobody's above the law. And I'm sure nobody feels worse than Pointer because he's such a great team guy. And I'm like, he's such a great team guy. Why is he missing meetings? But it's your team. Do what you want. Now I got all the Lightning fans mad at me going, you only talk about the Lightning when it's negative. And then over in New Jersey last night, the Florida Panthers went in there. They had lost their last 2 games, the Florida Panthers, and Paul Maurice, their head coach, said, we didn't even need to wear equipment the last 2 games, i.e. never threw a check, never even got in the way of receiving a check, a body check. Here's another Sunshine State coach shaming his team or individual players. They went out and beat the Devils last night 2-1 in a shootout. So again, why do we have to make an example of you? But we do, and it works. It works. We're talking about those with the NHL leftovers, Braden Point, NHL breakaway bets. I've picked the Oilers to win tonight. You're welcome, Edmonton. Kyle Manifold, who was with us last hour from the Hockey Podcast Network, he's picked the Minnesota Wild. And we both picked Carolina to beat Buffalo. There are only 2 games. The Hockey Podcast Network is an umbrella that has 90 NHL podcasts in it, including the Cats and Bolts podcast. And when we started this show a year ago, he was very nice to welcome us aboard. And I'm sure you all know by now, it is one Florida's fastest growing podcast. I told you that we never got to the to the sports update last hour, so I'm going to do it now. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers has declared for the NFL draft, ending a Longhorns career in which he led the program to a Big 12 championship and twice to the college football playoff, but was not always embraced by a fan base eagerly waiting for Arch Manning to take over. And that's the thing. When I saw this, For the college football fans in our studies show, it's a small percentage of you that are. I won't talk a ton about this. But Quinn Ewers, he's a junior. He's declaring for the NFL draft. He's done at Texas. He's sort of like, y'all want Arch Manning? Have at her, Haas. Archie Manning's grandson, Eli and Peyton's nephew. That's the deal there. This is the thing, the world where I live in, where there's thousands of people that love hockey here in South Florida, but way, way, way more that are just insane about college football. I don't know if you heard my story the other day about my neighbor, Harry. He's from New Jersey, the Garden State. He's a Rod. I can't wait for next Monday. I just can't wait for the Notre Dame OSU game. That's a week away, bro. I can wait. But they're just frothing at the mouth. They're flip on the radio. That's all they're talking about. That's fine. That's them. But there's a lot of stuff going on between now and Monday. I'm not going to sit and talk about the college football national championship for a damn week. They are. But I'm not. And speaking of my neighbors, we went for supper last night with our former neighbor, Gail. That's a guy. He's from France. He picked the place. And he couldn't believe how fast that I ate my lasagna. Like, literally, it was gone by the time he'd had 2 bites of his. It was in Meisner Park here in Boca Raton, and he's like, oh, you hungry? I said, well, I don't know, I ran 5 miles today. And he goes, maybe I should run 5 miles. We looked at it. We wouldn't if we were you. Gail's got the big boiler. Maybe don't start with 5 miles. But we had a good time last night. He's not a big sports fan, but he likes us. Here's one. A man accused of felony stalking of Indiana Fever star and WNBA Rookie of the Year Caitlin Clark shouted, guilty as charged in a courtroom yesterday. 55-year-old Michael Thomas Lewis is accused of repeated and continued harassment of the 22-year-old Clark. WISH-TV of Indianapolis reported that Lewis behaved, quote, very erratically in his first court appearance. Lewis received a no-contact order and the stay-away order sought by prosecutors that bars him from being within 500 feet of either of the 2 arenas where the Fever play their home games. The court filed a not guilty plea on Lewis's behalf. But he yelled, guilty as charged. See, here's the thing. All that stuff Caitlin Clark had been putting up with the past couple of years, the other girls in the league didn't like her. And then this, I don't even know what to call him. As they say, everybody's battling something. And you don't even know what it is. Be kind. Try not to be crazy. Tiger Woods isn't sure what's going to happen with next month's Genesis Invitational, the PGA Tour event that he hosts in the fire-ravaged Pacific Palisades neighborhood of Los Angeles. He's insisting there should be far bigger concerns than a golf tournament. Tiger said last night that meetings about what will happen with the tournament are scheduled, but did not reveal any decisions or suggest that the event may be moved from Riviera Country Club. Tiger spoke last night after his debut in the TGL Indoor Golf League that he helped develop. Trust me, everybody's talking about that here in South Florida. Oh, it's Tiger's mini golf course. I don't think it's mini golf, but it's close to mini golf, isn't it? It's 1:11 Eastern. Just putting that out there. Yeah, Tiger has opened an indoor golf place here. Everybody's going off about it.
Beautiful.
TGL Golf. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a golf guy. Don't come here to talk golf. Don't come here expecting to talk golf on the RP Show. The sports update is brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Sonic the Hedgehog returns to the big screen in his most thrilling adventure yet. Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails reunite against a powerful new adversary, Shadow, a mysterious villain with powers unlike anything they have faced before, starring Idris Elba, Keanu Reeves, and Jim Carrey. Sonic the Hedgehog is in Landmark Cinemas now. I'm just rolling Roland re-upping what we opened the show with an hour ago with Kyle Manifold. NHL leftovers from last night. Braden Point being a healthy scratch. Why'd they have to put a scarlet letter on him? But it's their business. NHL breakaway bets we played. And then, CFL notes. I have it here. Let me sneak it in while I have a minute, although I did cover it last hour. Here's the news you can use. Kahari Jones has joined the University of British Columbia Thunderbirds as quarterbacks coach. I thank the guy that sent me that article today. Where were the insiders on that one? Huh? GoThunderbirds.ca broke the story from their own website. That still happened. It's, as we mentioned earlier, it's Pinball Clemens' birthday. Happy birthday, Pinner. I want to say he's 61. That? There's something about him. Norm Fong writes in. Hello, Normie. The Hall of Fame equipment manager of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Regina Pats, and LA Shark. Rod, another great show, and looking forward to you and Rich telling a few stories. Signed, Fongo. Happy anniversary, Fongo. Is it happy anniversary? I know I'm to be congratulating you for something. Or is it Kathy's birthday? Either way, she's a lucky gal. Oh, on the mental health side, by the way, listen. We sit here, Mickey Mousen, talking sports like it's actually important. The Jets and Canucks last night honored Rick Rippon on the Rick Rippon Hockey Talks last night. Took his own life. Depression was the thing Ripper was battling. I called every single one of his junior games. And now that I think about it, that was what I wanted to talk about. The next text refers to this. I remember one night, our team was so bad with the Regina Pats. How bad was it, Rod? Well, you all remember that video. You younger kids won't, but the older folks will. Of John Wensink, the Boston Bruins tough guy, skating to the other team's bench, stopping with a T-glide stop and challenging the entire bench to fight. Rick Rippon did a similar thing, but to our own bench in the Agrodome. I was calling the game. Our team was so lethargic and lackadaisical and didn't give a shit about anything. Rick challenged his own bench to wake up and enjoy playing hockey. And unfortunately, it fell on deaf ears. Anyways, Rick took his life later on after several years in the NHL, a fighter with the Manitoba Moose and the Vancouver Canucks, and mental health professional here, certified, licensed in the state of Florida and Canada. A lot of times there is a triggering event for depression. And in Rick's life, we believe we know what that was. So that's the whole thing about taking care of each other, checking on each other. Glenn writes in, Glenn with 2 N's on the 902 line. He says, hey, Rod, my son lost his best friend last year when he took his own life. It is so hard on family, friends, and acquaintances when someone takes their own life. Everyone, be kind and look after your mental health and those around you. He says, I knew Braden Point from his time in Moose Jaw. He's one of the most outstanding young men that I've met. I couldn't believe it. He sat with us for Christmas supper about 3 years in a row. As a kid, he was 5'2", maybe 120 pounds. You couldn't believe how much that kid could eat. Yeah, well, I just have a tough time believing that he keeps missing meetings for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Get him a new watch. But why do you need to out him? But it's their business. But on that taking your own life thing, as my sponsor, who's probably watching right now, my 12-step sponsor, Bob, says, one thing about taking your life, it's permanent. We'll talk some hockey with our good friend Rich Sutter from Hockey's First Family when we come back. I never did get to that NFL stuff. We'll do that later. We're live on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcast wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained, aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hockey weather, as you see, here in South Florida. Hour 2 brought to you by Culligan Water. Clear water, clear choice. Filter out the bad and taste the good. Culligan Water of Regina. Check them out at culliganregina.com. All right, we got more time to spend with Rich Sutter. I love it. 13-year NHL veteran, member of hockey's first family. Richie's got filled up on his coffee. Hey, Richie, happy, what day is it? Wednesday. How you doing, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, man. Everything's great. Talking hockey down here, talking to you. It's all amazing. And there's a lot of, this is like the NFL in terms of storylines in the NHL. We got a few that we can go through today. Do you have a take on Braden Point not only being healthy scratch for missing a meeting, but the team announcing it on their Twitter? I'm a little flabbergasted. How about you?
I am too. Someone made a point last night, a prominent hockey guy who covers a lot of games, and I do respect it to some degree. The point was said that, no pun intended, was that John Cooper doesn't do things like this unless there's been a little bit of a history of something. That's just not how Tampa operates now. He operates, and quite frankly, I was quite taken aback when I was trying to watch the game. I'm going, where the hell's Braden Point? You know? And then it was brought up. I'm going like, really? I mean, yeah, you could see you probably sleeping through with set your alarm on your cell phone, and it doesn't go off, that you miss it. But I would think that maybe you get your hands whacked a little bit for it, but to be sat out a game in such an important game, even though I thought they very much deserved to win the game last night, quite honestly, how well they played without him. But I was just taken aback, like, maybe take the guys out for dinner, or take the trainers out for dinner or something for missing the meeting. But back when we played, we knew someone was late. You had never had cell phones. It was hard to get a hold of someone, right, Rod? So we'd do everything we could to delay the coaches. Someone go in and bug the coaches about something, and someone else would go in and before they'd say, screw off, we got a meeting. We're late for the meeting. And so we were always trying to buy time and find our guy. I'm surprised that didn't happen, but maybe his ringer, his cell phone was on silence. So, hey, I give him grace for it. He's a great hockey player. He's a great kid, and I love him. So, sucks, but it is what it is.
Maybe his phone died. I don't know. I'm with you on all of that. It's just the harshest form of punishment to out you in front of the world for this. Which, by the way, I met you in the lobby of the Lethbridge Ramada at a team meal. You came down to see Rich Preston, and he introduced us in about 1996. Were you still playing then, or did you just shut her down?
I just come home. Actually, I'd set up home base here for Ron and the kids. But, Rico and I, we still have a great relationship. Been on the phone with him actually a little bit here in the last couple of days. We're going to do a trip together. I got him hooked in. We're going to do a hot stove up in Savannah, Northern Alberta, for the local community with him and Rob Brown, who played for him and Daryl and Mike in Chicago. So I'm really looking forward to that in March. Going to go up and have some fun and see the great Northern Alberta.
I was going to say come to Florida, but you're going the other way. Well, please say hi to Rico.
Give me a damn reason to come down there, and I'll be there.
Okay. Next one. I think you're Penguins alum, too. They waived Tristan Jarry today. Sid the Kid said last night that the way that they're playing is unacceptable. They're standing. What's your take on the Penguins?
Oh, boy, I've been watching that team a lot lately, too, Rod. And, they are just – their game is all over the map. Their inconsistency is just up and down like crazy. And of course, I do feel for Tristan Jarry being a Western kid and being out here. But I thought he had his game back on track a month or so ago after he went back down to the minors to Wilkes-Barre. And but it seems that everything that's gone on from him, and when you're not making the save, it gets blown up right on you too. And you're giving up grade A chances and stuff, but at some point you got to make some saves for your team. And it's not that he's just not making saves. He's letting leaky goals go into. And as for Kyle Dubas, you hope that contract doesn't come back and bite him, because there's no snowball's chance in hell that anyone's picking up that contract on waivers.
Speaking of Western guys, I passed along your hello to Randy Moeller, the Penguins great and broadcaster, and he mentioned, were you at his wedding in the 80s?
Oh, yes, I was.
He said it was the social event of the season. His dad rented the top floor of the Black Knight and bought a keg. So you were there, huh?
Well, yeah, we had a couple kegs. I remember. I wasn't in the wedding party. Ronnie was, but I do know that it was a great night in honor and celebrate his and Kathy's wedding, and it was awesome. There's some weddings you don't forget, some parties you don't forget. That was one of them.
Yeah, the groom got kidnapped. There was a $5,000 ransom demand. We won't go down that road. Okay. To another former team of yours, Rich. I'm not calling you a suitcase, but the Canucks. What's going on?
Well, honestly, I think the thing that's really hurt them has been injuries, and that's not an excuse, because every team goes through them. But boy, some teams have had an exorbitant amount of man games lost. Vancouver being one of them. And obviously, they're not playing up to snuff compared to last year. But I'm kind of sick and tired of the Pedersens and Millers whatever it is they got going on, being drugged through media, being asked every day. If people would just leave it alone, look, these guys are great hockey players, and I've been in plenty of dressing room where everyone didn't get along, but the common denominator is find ways to be within the team structure, win hockey games, and it's just not those two guys that aren't playing well. There's other guys as well too, and yeah, talk keeps kind of taking the heat off and saying that's on me to find ways to get these guys better. To a degree, it is, but you know what? In today's game, take some personal responsibility as a player also to get it figured out. And look, I'm a fan of those guys. I'm a fan of those two players especially. I take them on my team 7 days a week, and I live and die with them. So I hope they can figure it out, and I just wish that the noise that the media keeps talking about it would just let it quiet down at least to some degree.
Well, by the way, you know I'm teasing you about the suitcase thing. You had a wonderful 13-year career. I loved watching you play. And I know you're a very proud Canucks alum. So, I mean, would you be dealing these guys? You played with Tocchet, too. So, like, what's the way out for this?
Not a chance. Not a chance. It's you keep playing these guys and you keep talking to them. And I like JT Miller's comments a couple weeks ago when he was brought up to him, and you could tell he was pissed off about it. And he said, do you guys want me to bring him out and we'll talk about it here together if you guys think we actually got a personal problem? Because I can go do that right now. So, look, I like I said, I played with guys who I didn't get along. I played with some guys like they didn't like how I played in practice. And I when this started coming up about the stuff about how JT pushes players and pushes teammates, well, good for him. Good for him. And you just got to be careful which guys you push and how hard you push them. I had some guys I played with, you know what? Guys who come to me in the locker room after practice and they go, you can't practice like that. You can't work that hard or be that competitive in practice. And they get that I had to play that way every day. I never took a day off unless the coaches told me not to skate or the trainers. And I had to play that way because at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, when I got to protect your ass and have your back because you're the star, the switch doesn't just go on at 7:02. And I think that's how JT is wired. And maybe, he's just got to pick his spots a little better with who he's got. But you know what? I love that guy. I love them both, actually. So, like I said, I'll take him all day long, 7 days a week, and I'll go to my grave with them.
I'd love to know who that player was, and I know you won't tell me, but he didn't obviously know who he was talking to. But, when I was in Vancouver in November for Grey Cup, this is what I heard about Pedersen. Too much pressure in that town for him. That the heat gets in his noggin, and, what do you think about that?
I agree, because he's a quieter guy. Look, Talk and the coaching staff, these guys have been through a world of experiences, good, bad, and different, with that coaching staff. They know how to work with these guys and be personal with these guys and get down behind doors with these guys in terms of how to have them, listen to them talk. It's just not about how you're always talking, Rod. It's also about the tone of your voice, and you can tell if a guy's down or not down. And and Petey is a quiet guy by nature. You can tell. But I know there's a fire within him. I've seen him do it before, and I know he'll do it again. I just hope they can come out of this funk. Look, they're too good a team. I still think they got a legitimate chance to win it now that they got their defense core back and that the guys are slotting correctly in the back end in terms of their pairings. Look, I like that group, and I hope that they can figure it out soon.
I shouldn't be smiling. What I'm smiling about is this Braden Point thing being scratched, because I got Lightning fans on my ass saying you only talk about us when it's negative. I'm like, well, welcome to Canada, guys. Like, this is what we do, right? Like, look at the Leafs. They've lost 3 in a row, and they're like ready to fold the team up there. Oh my God! You don't like being talked about? You're in the wrong league. Go ahead.
And I love Chiefs last night about the loss, or the other day about the loss, getting booed off the ice, and and he was so matter of fact, and he said, look, he goes, it happens in every city, it happens in every team, that it's just not us. So you know what, it is what it is. Like, it's not like oh my God, the roof was falling down and they're booing us off the ice. He was so matter of fact about it. He goes, yeah. He goes, yeah. He goes, it happens in every city. Like, so next question.
It broke up there when you mentioned that. Was that Berube, you said?
Yeah.
Or who was it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. It happened here too, by the way, when the Panthers got shut out 4-0 by Montreal in here. Dude, I got to ask you about the Habs. Their fans, they're good. Their fans, some are really good friends of mine saying the rebuild, it's done. The ship's come in, baby. What do you think?
Yeah. No. I mean, they're a talented group. Look, a month ago, everyone wanted Marty St. Louis' head, who at times looked like he had no clue what he was doing behind the bench. I mean, let's be honest. And there is a breadth and a wealth of talent in that group coming through the yin yang on that. I mean, up and down that lineup, and it's just a matter of them figuring it out. And at the end of the day, you can have all the skill in the world. If you don't play within structure and if you don't work your tail off, you don't win in this league. The margin of error is so tight now. A bounce here, a bounce there, a Tristan Jarry not making a save. It's a huge difference. And just going back to what Sydney said, it's consistency. Consistency is also working the right way all the time and believing in something and staying with it. And that's what Montreal has started to finally do. But you know what? They've still got a ways to go. If anyone thinks they're planning the parade in Montreal, maybe better wait for at least 2 or 3 more years.
You're right about the talent, though, because I saw them through here. They're awesome. If they can keep it together and work, they're going to be real good, which is not Chicago. I'll end it on this. Sorry to say, another one of your former teams, right, Richie? The Hawks?
Yep.
Do you see them coming? Because I do not. I'm going there for 2 games this weekend. Nope. So I'm excited to see them live myself, but that just looks like a dog's breakfast to me.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going on there. You bring a GM in, bring a guy that with no GM experience running your Hawk Club and making all these changes, and they bring in all these guys that thought they were going to make, stabilize the group this year. It hasn't happened. I'm a big Luke Richardson fan, and I thought he was a hell of a scapegoat for someone else's mistakes. But that's what happens in our sport, right? And I want to see them do well. Yeah, they got some talent coming. Yeah, they do have some picks that are on the rise and guys that will be there. But they've got to develop too, and that speaks about what's going on in your organization, who's developing, how you're developing. Do I think the guy they got behind the bench now is the answer? I think it's too early to tell that, but I just pray to God they get some more guys in that can help Connor Bedard. There's only so many Dickinsons and Folignos in the world. You got to find 2 or 3 other guys too.
Yeah. Well, sure. But Taylor Hall, Patrick Maroon, it's like, what are you doing here? Like, it doesn't look like there's a plan, I guess is what I'm getting at.
No, and it's concerning, Rod, because I do follow all the teams very closely. I know it drives my wife Rhonda nuts, so how much I do follow it. But look, I love this game. I want to be back in the game. I'd love to go back and work for a group or an organization. But one way to do it is stay on top of things and pay attention. And when you've been there and done it and been in the trenches as long as I've been playing and post-playing, you can read between the lines on a lot of nights what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, there's no one better than you, Rich. Thanks for the time, and we'll chat later today.
Awesome. Thanks, Rod. Have a great day. Enjoy the sun.
Thanks for the time. 13-year NHL veteran, Rich Sutter. Veteran personnel guy and media guy, too, although they never like to admit that. The rest of the way, it's you and me. Whatever you'd like to talk about, plus a sports update. We are live on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
We are back at it. And I tell you what, if you got something smart to say it now. 902-518-3033. Yes, life is good here in South Florida. Really awesome. And I appreciate those that are checking in, like my guy Rob Pedersen, Realty One Regina, longtime supporter of mine. Thank you, Sea Lightning, telling everybody who's watching on streaming to give it the thumbs up. The show, believe it or not, has gone exactly the way that I'd hoped over the past 1,414 episodes. The View for sports fans, that's what we do here. I want to talk about the daily topics in sports and then get your participation. We just don't have Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar here, which I'm fine with. But it's no small deal in my mind that Braden Point was scratched last night by the Tampa Bay Lightning for missing a team meeting, which, by the way, who really cares? It happens all the time. Why do you have to put it out on Twitter? That's all. And I sit here every day, most of these 1,414 episodes, and rail on how old school's that's the way it should be. This was the most old school of disciplinary tactics. And I wonder if it works, because I didn't think that stuff worked anymore. Tony is watching in Cochrane, Alberta, and he writes in, this newer generation doesn't get accountability. The me generation. That's the point. It would be nice if they did, but they don't. So I'm shocked that John Cooper is publicly calling out his player like this. Like John said, it doesn't, or Rich said, it doesn't add up. Rich Sutter. So I think why you all are watching this show is one of the reasons, because it's on. That's the biggest reason. Two, if you want the inside and what the sports people are talking about, this is what it is. Like Rich said, John Cooper doesn't do this. Shaming your players, humiliating them publicly, that's the way it used to be done. You can argue whether or not it worked. Didn't think it worked anymore. There's something going on with the Lightning, and I don't know what. And like I said, their fans now are coming at me today. You only talk about us when it's something negative. Wrong. Don't come at me. It's your team that called out Braden Point publicly. Don't shoot the messenger, which this year marks 6 years since I was shot for being the messenger. So I get it. People are always going to do that. And with regards to today's world, Chad in Lethbridge, we're very big in Lethbridge, by the way, clearly. Rich Sutter's in Lethbridge. One of my biggest hockey insider guys that gives me the scoops is in Lethbridge, or at least his opinion. It's not really scoops. He's never rarely wrong. This Chad writes in on the 902 text line, and he says, Marchand and Pasternak seem to be in a spat as well, according to Rich Keefe. Who the hell is Rich Keefe? And he says, Marchie blasts him, saying it's all lies. And Keefe doubles down. Not sure who to believe. Thoughts? Fake news. Who do I believe? I don't. This is going to sound terrible because I hate it when Serena says it. My beautiful better half. I don't care, but I don't care. Spats happen all the time. They happen within our show. They happen in our personal relationships. Why does it end up on the front page? I don't know. But I think we make far too much of this stuff. Let me get into the sports update and we'll continue on this. It's, I think the one thing, I will say this. I'm really, 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 really lucky that I have another career in that recovery world, the mental health and addiction recovery, because they run parallel. Sports and media and that. Sports and media rot your mental health. Come to me to fix it. But there's a bunch of young people that have come up in the media world that were trained differently than we were trained in how to do things. We didn't report on the spats. 36 years combined, voice of the Rough Riders, voice of the Pats. We didn't report on locker room spats. You think there weren't any? Why is it being reported now? Because they don't know how to get the real stories. This is easy. But I tell you, gas station snack food. Tastes good. It's not good for you. And it's cheap. That's what the reporting is. Oh, Pasternak and Marchand don't like each other. Who cares? Like literally, Chad, who cares? Ignore it. Can you do that? That's what I do. It's a quiet night in the National Hockey League with just 2 games on the schedule. Carolina and Buffalo. See, my friend Brent from Wellington, Florida, he's always, did you hear this? Did you hear that? I don't pay attention to any of it. Okay? And I tell him that. Fortunately, we're still friends. I don't pay attention to it because literally who cares? And by the way, is this driving apart the Vancouver Canucks dressing room? Maybe it is. Then Rick Tocchet and Patrick Alvin, do something about it. Get rid of one of them or both. I'm just tired of hearing about it. Carolina, do you get along with all your coworkers? It's sort of like, man, the people that were bitching, frankly, about sports games, whether they're going to be played or were they not going to be played in LA because of the wildfires. Are you not? That's so insensitive to play these games while people are displaced from their home. Did you go to work? Yeah. Why shouldn't we go to work? Carolina and Buffalo will get things started in the Queen City. Regina? The late game has Edmonton at Minnesota. The Wild are 1 point up on 5th place Edmonton in the Western Conference. The Pittsburgh Penguins could be moving on from goalie Tristan Jarry. The club announced it is placing the two-time All-Star on waivers this afternoon. The 29-year-old Jarry is 8-7-4 with a 3.32 GAA. Penguins heading into a 7-game roadie later this week on the fringe of the playoff race in the underwhelming Eastern Conference. Who wrote this? Very entertaining. Toronto Raptors have a chance to put together a rare win tonight at winning streak at Scotiabank Arena. They're home to the Boston Celtics. Toronto coming off a 3-point win over Golden State, but still third from the bottom in the NBA's Eastern Conference at 9-31. And we have a CFL note. The Ottawa Redblacks have signed American quarterback Drew Brown to a 1-year contract today. An extension. The deal leaves Brown under contract with Ottawa through the 2026 season. He appeared in 15 regular season games last year, his first with Ottawa. He's led the team into the playoffs for the first time since 2018. Ottawa acquired Brown's negotiating rights from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on January 18th, 2024, and signed him to a 2-year contract 6 days later. We'll be back with overtime right after this, and I just have a feeling it's going to sizzle. We're live on Game Plus Television, streaming live, and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Overtime is here. Going to tell you a couple things. Transform your audience with powerful presentations from EMJ Marketing's elite speakers. Check out their website for more information at emjmarketing.com. Quite a few things we need to get to here. Regarding Overtime, Hockey Lanes in Calgary. I'm looking forward to seeing them this summer. Are you looking for the perfect place to perfect your shot? Look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. With state-of-the-art shooting lanes, top-notch equipment, it's the ultimate training destination for players of all ages and skill levels, plus a licensed bar for the adults. Check them out at 28th Street Northeast. Tell them the RP Show sent you. 7 minutes, just under 7 minutes left in this show. That is a lot of time. That's an eternity in the broadcasting business. You can reach me at 902-518-3033. I haven't checked the phone in a while. I will in a second. And the chat feed is well on YouTube. I don't have Facebook going here. Can't be everywhere. But if you want to reach me on YouTube, that's the way to do it. Sports fans, join the Rod Squad newsletter today. Stay ahead of the game with exclusive insights, updates, contests, and exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up for free today at rodpeterson.com. So that includes my 10 Things Weekend column. I used to put it on my website. Now it's going into the newsletter. We put some breaking news there. Just so you know, not that you all care, but again, you're watching this show and people seem to have a bit of an interest in the media industry. Now, just this week, it's hit all the U.S. college football websites that Chris Jones is joining Bill Belichick with the University of North Carolina. And the headlines, CFL legend joining Bill Belichick in North Carolina. It was 1 week ago today that this show broke the story. Actually, Rod Pedersen Incorporated broke the story that Chris Jones was going there. There was no credit ever given to me for breaking the story by these college football sites. They just don't do it anymore. We were brought up to credit the source. They don't do it anymore. Just can't get upset about it. How it changes is at some point you are all going to realize where all those scoops are coming from and all the truth. And not the snack food, gas station crap, but the truth and the scoops are here. And the ones that are stealing it won't last. I guess that's the point. It just takes a lot longer for it to come around. Sea Lightning writes in, and I'm not sure his point, but I'm going to read it anyways. He says, I knew a guy in the 1980s from around Edmonton that cheered for the Maple Leafs and the Rough Riders. Back then, the Oilers and Edmonton football team were dynasties. Thanks for passing that along. I do have a lot of friends in the Edmonton area who, this is just, we talk about how things have changed. There was a time Edmonton's sports teams, the Oilers and Eskimos, were neck and neck. And now it ain't even in the same stratosphere. I don't think, in that case, they're ever going back. Regarding the buzz, which, by the way, I understand you all can't get enough of the snack food from the gas station. I get it. Hard to beat a good cinnamon bun. Brent from Wellington, Florida is watching right now. He says, just so you know, I haven't heard anything today. LOL. It's one way of reporting things. Like here in Florida, not that anybody cares, but supposedly Carter Verhaeghe. I say supposedly because I'm not following it. Carter Verhaeghe, the Florida Panthers star, married the sister of Florida Panthers TV host Katie Engelson, and they had a wonderful South Florida wedding last year. Don't care. What was his plus minus last night? Just don't get into it. Paul in Humboldt writes in. Hope you had a good birthday, Paul. He says dressing room drama? Not new, not news, but out. Yeah, all of that. But then you got the Tampa Bay Lightning tweeting that Braden Point's missing the game because he missed a meeting. Why are you putting your drama out there? That's what I can't get. Been doing a little digging on that, and, John Cooper addressed it, and he said, we have rules. This is pro sports. Nobody's above the law. I get all that. And in the football world, Mike Kelly would say, we're handling it internally. Now, what don't we understand about that? Bill in Regina. Bill writes in, he says, ouch. The poll question. The poll question is, how is this Leafs season going to end? Can we just fast forward to the end? Save you all some pain? Is it going to end in a Stanley Cup title, or is it going to end in Thelma and Louise going off the cliff? 97% of you people saying you're going off the cliff. You're welcome. I think we can all see that coming, can't we? Tony from Cochrane had a lot of great comments today. He says, you just can't coach old school with this generation. They need to be coddled. Yeah, but what about when you coddle them and they still don't perform? That's the tough one. That's when you got to get rid of them. Navy Don writes in, he says, hi, Rod, skating on the Rideau Canal, for those that don't know, in Ottawa, daily, wearing my Mike Bossy and Dave Babick jerseys on alternate days, getting lots of thumbs up from the good folks of Ottawa. Rich in Edmonton says, Rod's right, it's not even close anymore. And I grew up at Commonwealth. Colin in Ottawa says the sad thing about the CFL not getting its schedule out before Christmas like the previous 3 years is that us fans of the league, expectations are lowered again by CFL executive. Again. You said it, not me. It's been good. Thank you, Kyle Manifold. Thank you, Rich Sutter. Thanks to you people. It's going to be fun. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Talk a lot more football here on Game Plus.
I had this steak!